Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today we are celebrating the week after one of the most important holidays of the year, Easter. Gotta get them eggs, am I right? We're going to be discussing an extra timely topic related to Easter this year. No, we are not reviewing Pineapple Express 2, as Easter fell on 4/20 this year. We are here to review Sinners, the new movie from Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan. We're going to start, as we always do, with an icebreaker question before jumping into a spoiler-free discussion where we'll provide a review and verdict of the film. And then we'll conclude with an in-depth spoiler talk. And there's a lot to spoil in this movie, wouldn't you know it? So much to cover. Can't do it alone. Absolutely not. Especially not without my right hand. He's my co-host and award-winning Oklahoma filmmaker, Laron Chapman. Laron Chapman, what is your greatest sin this week?
God, I have so many. It's only a 2-hour podcast. No, but I've been wanting to say, Caleb, that you're the yin to my yang. You're the cheese to my macaroni, and you're the Michael B. Jordan to my Michael B. Jordan.
Oh my God, that's the greatest compliment I've ever received in my life.
Someone told me in the comments today of one of my random reviews on Facebook, they were like, "Laron, aren't you the Michael B. Jordan of Oklahoma City?" I was like, I can't take that. You can say that to me, and I will accept it and give it a heart reaction. But it's definitely the most flattering thing anyone's ever said to me. So
100%.
I'll take it.
Any comparison on Michael? I don't think I'm definitely not worthy of the Michael B. Jordan, but I appreciate. I'm also flattered, Laron. I'll take it. Well, we've got perhaps joining us today, perhaps one of the Michael B. Jordans of Oklahoma news publications. He's the editor-in-chief of the Curbside Chronicle, Nathan Poppe. Nathan, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again. Yeah, this is going to be a good time.
So on a scale of sinner and saint, where do you fall on this?
I've always been more of a sinner than a saint now that I really stop and think about it. So, yeah, good question. Good start to this. So this movie was a great fit.
We're here to condemn everyone.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I mean, if I invited you on this podcast, it's clearly because you fit the bill, so. Also, very excited to welcome back for the first time in a long time, probably too long a time. He is the Grand Gentleman Incorporated Executive Director, Korey Eakers. Korey, welcome back, sir.
Glad to be here.
What is your greatest sin in the last 24 hours?
24. I stayed up till 4 a.m. on Sunday for no reason at all.
That is a sin I can relate to. Yeah. The insomnia. Is it a sin if it's insomnia? Can we blame the insomnia? I don't know.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. Last, but certainly not least, very excited to be rejoined by the Brockness monster of art direction and becoming one of our resident vampire enthusiasts, Brock Lay. Brock, welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Brock last joining us from our Nosferatu review, of course. Well, listeners, we have so much to talk about today. But before we get to today's conversation, icebreaker review, if you do enjoy listening to this conversation or you've enjoyed listening to any of our previous conversations, please support us by leaving us a rating and review on your preferred podcast app, most notably Apple Podcasts and Spotify. One quick programming announcement. So we are heading headfirst into the summer season. We are at the end of April, somehow already at the end of April. And wouldn't you know it, though I feel like this early spring, winter so far has actually been pretty not bad, but very okay. We get a really exciting release schedule this summer. So, Laron, since we last talked, there has been some news. Mm-hmm. Very important news. Listeners who've been listening for a couple of years may remember that I said we're not talking about the MCU again until the X-Men show up. And, Kevin Feige heard. He was listening to the show and said, by golly, we got to get Caleb and Laron talking about Marvel films again. And so... And the original X-Men, not the first class X-Men. We're going all the way back. So as part of the announcement for Avengers Doomsday, they announced several cast members from the original cast, including Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Oklahoma's own James Marsden. I think Frank Jansen was in there. Pretty much everyone except for Storm and Wolverine, I think.
Yeah.
Including what's that? Rebecca Romijn as
Rebecca Romijn
for
Stamos.
Mystique.
No, is she still a Stamos?
O'Connell.
Oh, sorry, no. Not anymore.
Put out all the stops. OG X-Men are back. And I'm not saying Thunderbolts is going to be good, but I am saying it's good that we got the X-Men back, and there's nothing else to talk about that weekend. So we're reviewing Thunderbolts on May 7th. We'll start with Ron. How do you feel about the X-Men are back in the MCU? Is this just a totally desperate move
it might be, and we'll see, because I felt that way about Deadpool and Wolverine, that shameless kind of like, okay, let's give you everything you want, but let's not actually make a movie. But that being said, Blade and X-Men are the only two remaining like MCU like universes that I care to see. So as long as it's including one of those two, then I'm there.
I agree. You and I are the same page. We've seen some truly awful X-Men movies. I've been there.
That's also true.
Day one. We've seen some incredible X-Men movies. I've been there day one for all of them, and I'll be there day one to see the X-Men probably get annihilated by the Avengers of this universe, likely.
Because I think they conjure us a particular time when we weren't so jaded with all of the MCU content, like before it became this big machine with the Avengers and everything else, and so where it was like, I remember it was exciting to see the new Spider-Man movie by Sam Raimi. That era of it.
There wasn't. It was literally just like they were making a movie. They weren't trying to make a cinematic universe and connect it to like 8 other movies or whatever.
Yeah.
Korey, I know you're big into Marvel. Like, how are you feeling about this casting announcement for Doomsday?
Listen here, man. Check this out. As a true lifelong Fantastic Four fan, as someone who was bred off the Mark Waid run of Fantastic Four in the early 2000s, as soon as I saw that Doctor Doom casting, I checked out.
Totally valid.
I checked out.
Completely valid.
Why? There's so many things wrong with it. But why are we bringing back Robert Downey Jr. for this?
Yep.
Dr. Doom should be a Romani man, first and foremost.
Yes.
Secondly, it doesn't matter who plays him because he has a mask on the whole time.
Exactly.
Thirdly, why? Short, deep cut. If you're going to bring Robert Downey Jr. back, bring him back as a Tony Stark variant who, in my opinion, should become the Beyonder. If he wants to become a villain, bring him back as Tony Stark and have him become a variant that becomes a Beyonder, because in terms of the source material, you only have to make a small adjustment to that in order to make that happen. He becomes a big bad like you want him to be, who pulls all the strings. What they're doing now just seems desperate. It's all nostalgia bait, and I'm just kind of checked out. Superman, July 7th.
That's right.
Or July 11th.
July 11th, yeah.
I'm definitely going to be there. Here's a sneak peek for this is exclusive.
Oh,
exclusive. No one else knows this. The Grand Gentlemen are buying out a theater at Tinseltown. We're going to invite a bunch of kids to come see Superman for free. So super excited about that. James Gunn we trust. This movie looks awesome. But MCU, Fantastic Four looks good. Matt Shakman's a brilliant director.
Yes.
Visually, it looks good. But outside of that, I'm kind of checked out of Marvel.
So Laron and I have been having this conversation basically since the Wakanda Forever review, I would say. I mean, we had Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's kind of its own thing. And like Laron, you point out, they already kind of appealed to the nostalgia lowest common denominator. That said, it worked. Oh yeah, Channing Tatum as Gambit is also he's coming into this. So I believe both things are true. It is both a creatively bankrupt and desperate move that also happens to appeal to but I've always wanted to see it. And that is how you know it's desperate. Robert Downey Jr. casting is giant red flag. And then if you go back Insider, if you watch Comic-Con panels and stuff, and most people probably don't, but if you go watch when they announced the Russos, explain why they came back, you're like, guys, just say they paid you mountain loads of money. Just say it. Don't pretend like you had some idea. You guys don't know. It's really funny. They're like, and then after years of thinking, we realized there was a way. And I was like, lots of money. Kevin Feige had Bob Iger personally sign a very large check for your company. So
that's it.
Also, their movies that they've made since Avengers have been terrible.
I haven't even watched Electric State.
It's
good luck.
RDJ is Iron Man, like the persona of that, and then there's nothing that Dr. Doom even like says like, oh, that's definitely Robert Downey Jr.
Nothing.
Yeah, not a
you are iconic. It would be like Christopher Reeve signing on to play the Joker. Why, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
That is desperate.
What are we doing? That's crazy.
That's stunt casting. When you put it that way, that is going to be the most stunt casting thing.
What are we doing, man?
Oh man. That said, because there's actually no other options worth talking about that we can. I mean, the other option was The Accountant too, and unfortunately, that one also appears to be a stinker. So we're reviewing Thunderbolts. I will say Thunderbolts does look like it could be fun, maybe.
That is the review.
That's the.
That was quick.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun, sort of.
And I do think the Fantastic Four movie, that new trailer looks way better than the first trailer.
I'm excited for it.
I'm moderately excited. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic about that one. Brock or Nathan, anything you want to say about the X-Men showing up finally into the Avengers timeline?
Just give me X-Men 97, X-Men 98 on Disney, and I'll be fine. That's all the X-Men.
That's all I need.
It's the best X-Men. That is the best X-Men I think I've ever seen in my life. No joke.
Yes.
It goes so hard.
Yeah.
Can I say something really quick? I binge watched the 90s X-Men before I dived into 97.
It's perfect.
Boy, it's not as good as I remember.
But it's so sexual. I was like, how did I watch this as a kid?
Yes.
It is. But the story, the linear continuity of the story,
Oh, no.
it's not. It's
Well, what was
all-
cool is I watched X-Men 97 with my kids, and like there's a lot of stuff. They're like, why does this happen? I was like, well, let's go watch some of the old school X-Men to find out what they're talking about. So that was kind of fun going back, and
Yeah.
like you said, yeah.
I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like, it's nostalgia definitely helps it out.
The first couple,
yeah.
and the first couple episodes, like the Night of the Sentinels or whatever, it's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, wow, I can't believe they got a season greenlit after that first episode just because it's cobbled
Morph.
together. Yeah. Morph. That's actually the most fun is the Wolverine. Words they give him to say that aren't curse words that are clearly supposed to be curse words. There's a lot of that. That's pretty funny. Nathan, take us home here.
Oh yeah, my brain has been smoothed over by so many Marvel movies at this point. I'll see anything.
Oh, fair enough. Well, so our next review coming Wednesday, May 7th, Thunderbolts. 2 weeks after that, another series I've been very excited to come back to. Final Destination Bloodlines. We're going to do a double feature, Final Destination Bloodlines and Until Dawn, two upcoming horror movies. Until Dawn based on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 game. And guys, can you believe, I was thinking about this yesterday because I just finished, Laron and I, out of order, watched all five, finished watching the fifth one. So the first movie comes out in 2000. Most recent one, 5, came out in 2011. That means it has been longer. It has been longer since we got 5 than it was between number 1 and number 5. Blows my mind. God, I'm freaking old. Either way, I'm excited for Bloodlines. Looks like a good time. And give us a little, some fun little horror pick-me-up. And then, to really kick off the summer, coming the week after that, May 28th, as a review drop date, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Ethan Hunt is he's asking for us to review one of his movies one more time.
Tell me you've seen that trailer 50 times.
50
without telling
times,
me you've
and
seen
it never gets old. He likes to run, guys. So yeah, catch us up. So again, that is Wednesday, May 7th, Thunderbolts. Actually going to be Thursday, May 22nd for Final Destination, Bloodlines, and Until Dawn, and then Wednesday, May 28th for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. With that said, let's move into our icebreaker question for the week. And this week, as you'll discover in our conversation, music, very critical part of the film Sinners. So I thought it might be fun to just talk about some of our favorite soundtracks, or specifically songs or soundtracks from based on movies. Usually, I would say a soundtrack featuring a song and performance written for the movie in particular. So what is your favorite soundtrack featuring that song or performance written for the movie? And I'll start with you, Brock Lay.
I will just recite one line from the song and everybody will know what I'm talking about. I can't believe he's so trusting while I'm right behind you thrusting. Scotty doesn't know. That's one of the more iconic songs, I feel like, because everybody, it was one, crazy to think that Matt Damon would even consider doing that on a movie about kids going to Europe and trying to find his pen pal.
At that point in his career, too, when he was like doing fine.
Yeah, he was doing just fine. So I think that was just just a cool moment just for him and just for that movie, which actually turned out to be a fantastic movie. It's a really funny movie, and it just, I don't know, that's my song, and that's one I think that really everybody kind of knows.
So for listeners who are not in the know, the song and the movie.
Scotty Doesn't Know in the movie Eurotrip, Michelle Trachtenberg, R.I.P.
Oh, yeah. Man, we had some, we thought there couldn't be worse news than the X-Men showing up.
The Oscars might snub her in memoriam, but we won't.
Oh, gosh.
Yikes.
Yeah, thanks in memoriam. I'm still bitter about Tony Todd.
Tony Todd, too.
Yeah.
Too many.
Nathan Poppe, what is your favorite film soundtrack featuring songs and performances written for the movie?
That's a really tough act to follow. But I was watching this movie, A Complete Unknown, and whoever wrote the songs for that thing,
Timothée Chalamet, right?
A couple of those could be hits. Like, I'm not joking around. I don't know if you've heard some of this stuff, but no. I'm a sucker for Once.
Oh, wow.
Falling Slowly.
Yeah.
Like a total, like, kind of out of left field.
No one talks about that movie anymore, and it was such a great,
visually. It doesn't hold up. Like a lot of that stuff looks like it was shot on maybe the first iPhone in the dark. Yeah. But those scenes and that performance of Falling Slowly, still like, I'm just like, I get little goosebumps every time I hear that. An Oscar winner as well. And so it was just kind of this really cool story to it, and loved that one quite a bit. And another just baller one that I didn't even realize was written for the movie, Fight the Power, for Do the Right Thing.
Yep.
I had no idea that was specifically for it, and that one's just like tough to beat.
That's an iconic one for sure. Wow, man, great picks.
Good ones.
I feel like I'm
It's no Euro Trip.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
That one is
It's
very
no
catchy.
Scotty
It started playing in my head as soon as he said it. But yeah.
Oh man, great picks.
Thank
Korey,
you.
what is your pick for song? What is your pick?
Okay, so for soundtrack, I kind of have two, a soundtrack and a particular song. Both of them actually kind of tie into Sinners. So for soundtrack, I'll go with Idlewild, Outkast, 1920s, 30s, kind of a juke joint situation, just like Sinners. Incredible performances from Andre 3000 and Big Boy for Idlewild. Love that soundtrack. It's tough for me to pick a song from that soundtrack though. It's all great, but there wasn't like one that really stood out to me as much as the song I chose. The song I'm choosing is Beyonce's cover of "I'd Rather Go Blind" from Cadillac Records.
Yeah,
which she killed so tremendously that Etta James hated her until her death.
Yes, literally. She said as much.
So yeah, and also, Howlin' Wolf is on the soundtrack for Cadillac Records, which is song "Smokestack Lightning" is where I'm sure Ryan Coogler got the names for our antagonists.
Smokestack,
yeah, for nice. Sinners.
Wow. That's a connect. Your spot. That has to be it, right?
Has to be.
No way. Wow.
He grew up next to a bunch of smokestacks. Sorry to burst your bubble.
That's crazy. Ryan Coogler. We're going to talk about him, but Ryan Coogler, wow, what a guy. Just knows how to just take all these cultural influences and put it into a movie that somehow it works. That's brilliant. Ron Chapman, what is your pick?
Man, I had a hard time with this because there's really so many, but the ones that come to mind, Almost Famous, Purple Rain, the most recent Star is Born, Saturday Night Fever, and The Bodyguard, Whitney Houston. I'm like, every one of those songs is a hit. And it's like all that music was made for that film. And she made Dolly Parton's song, I'll Always Love You, like one of the biggest hits of all time. And some people forget that Dolly Parton wrote that song, but Dolly Parton gets a check for that, so she's happy about it. So, but yeah, those are four that come to mind. And then I wanted to shout out 8 Mile. I was, there was a period of time.
I still like 8 Mile. I mean, it's got a soft spot in my heart as a millennial.
Yeah,
that was a big deal at the time, right?
Yeah, no,
Huge.
Loved it.
Oh yeah.
Ah, man. Okay. Well, I thought I was being real like classy when I said that I was gonna pick Let's Duet from Dewey Cox Walk Hard. Great soundtrack, by the way. Speaking of A Complete Unknown. But no, and also there's a couple other ones out here. So I got to shout out to the Coen brothers because they do this. They have a few movies that have done this. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is one. The one in particular I want to shout out is Inside Llewyn Davis, Please Mr. Kennedy. Oh yeah, it's a great song. It lives rent free in my brain. Had it on our wedding reception playlist. It's just a fun one. Donnie Darko, the Tears for Fears Mad World cover. That's one that's still, I mean, every once in a while crops up if I'm really sad.
Yeah.
But it's iconic. I feel like for at least a solid decade, that was like the sad song that everyone listened to.
Yeah.
And then, gonna come out as a Muppet fan again, Rainbow Connection.
Okay. Yeah.
Every time I hear it makes me cry.
Inspired choice.
And it's in not every Muppet movie, but it's in several of them. But going back to the original where they incorporated that, wrote that song for the movie. So those are just a few. All the stars from Black Panther, also a really great one. Like whenever it cropped up in the Super Bowl halftime show, I don't know as much of his Lamar stuff as I'd like, but I was like, oh shit, that's good stuff. So anyway, those are some picks. Listeners, what is your favorite film soundtrack featuring a song or performance written for the movie? You can let us know by hitting us up on facebook.com/thecinemetropolis or Instagram @thecinemetrop. Send us an email at thecinemetropolis@gmail.com. Gentlemen, are you ready to sin? You ready to explore Sinners? Let's get into it, okay?
Yes, please.
Listen here, this ain't no house party. Shit. Y'all ready to drink? Y'all ready to sweat till y'all stink?
You want some?
You keep dancing with the devil.
Careful, boy. You gonna bite off more than you can chew.
One day he's gonna follow you home.
You got us a problem now.
What the hell going on?
Oh, we heard tale of a party. This world already left you for dead. I can save you from your fate.
You don't need no saving.
Yes, you do.
And you are?
I am. Your way out.
So according to IMDb, Sinners is described as set in 1932, trying to leave their troubled lives of crime in Chicago behind, twin brothers return to their hometown near the Mississippi Delta to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. So, Sinners is written and directed by Ryan Coogler. He's most famous for the 2 Black Panther films and also 2015's Creed. Those of us who have been following him for a little longer know him from Fruitvale Station back when he was an indie darling. This film stars Michael B. Jordan in the dual roles of Elijah Smoke Moore and Elias Stack Moore. Haley Steinfeld as Mary, Miles Kent as Sammy Preacher Boy Moore, Jack O'Connell as Remick, and Delroy Lindo as Delta Slim. Coogler is rejoined by his frequent collaborator Ludwig Göransson, of Black Panther fame, but he's scored, I think, most of Coogler's films. Most notably, though, if you might not recognize his name, you might know that he recently won an Oscar for the score for Oppenheimer, which was just another top-notch original score. Again, the film is set in Mississippi, but it's actually filmed in Louisiana, primarily the New Orleans area. And I'm just throwing this out there because I think it's interesting. Coogler cited that the Coen brothers' No Country for Old Men, Inside Llewyn Davis, and Fargo, the films of John Carpenter, specifically The Thing, and Robert Rodriguez's The Faculty are some of the cinematic inspirations for this film. And I promise, a couple more fun facts. I just think this is really interesting stuff. And I think we're going to talk about some of this maybe. But in January 2024, Ryan Coogler put this script up for auction with the bidders also including Sony Pictures and Universal. Warner Brothers was the one who decided to pick it up, offering up a $90 million budget. But I actually think the linchpin for them winning that bidding war was the copyright for Sinners will be returned to Ryan Coogler after 25 years. So for 25 years, Warner Brothers owns it, but the rights will then revert back to Coogler. This never happens.
Yeah.
A couple of exceptions, recent exceptions. Quentin Tarantino negotiated this for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. George Lucas did it for Star Wars, and Richard Linklater's done it for a couple of his films. Again, just pretty unheard of that a filmmaker will at some point be able to actually own the film they made personally, while it's also bankrolled by the studio. Sinners is budgeted at somewhere between $90 and $100 million, and the film opened number 1 at the Easter weekend box office with a domestic gross of $46 million, which...
Bunch of people sinning this weekend.
A lot of people sinning. Sinners, number 1 film at the box office. Yeah. Lots to unpack here. Let's just get general overall thoughts. Laron Chapman, I'll start with you. What did you think of Sinners?
I really love this, and I love it more as I think about it. I feel like, Ryan Coogler's done something very audacious here in a film that feels both intimate and epic at the same time. And it's like dripping with like texture and just like period detail, and the legacy of music and how it can be transcended and how it can kind of connect us to our ancestors. And I found that wrapping all that up in a genre film, which yes, there's a certain type of parasite in this that people have been aware of because the trailers gave too much away, just like the Abigail trailer, I feel like.
Yep.
But the beauty about this film is that they're really an ingredient in this film more than they are the point of this film. And I really think that he gave us a real full meal of a genre film here that has so much to say, so much historical context, and is also just a blast, with a couple of whoa moments, specific sequences that I know that we'll get into later in the podcast. But definitely love this. I think this is probably the first great film of the season moving into, as we go further into Oscar season. So, and I actually think this will be an awards player this year.
It's going to be the Get Out. This is going to be the Get Out of 2025.
The Substance, the even the Nosferatu to a certain extent. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I really think that with the success of the box office and it being a critical darling, and there's more here that's on display in the crafts department, that you could make an argument for so many different nominations here. So, and I hope it is, because they have a couple of box office draw films in that space. And then Coogler himself had a Best Picture nomination with Black Panther. So
right.
There's precedent for this happen. It's not. I don't think it's radical to say that this movie that features these things could not be an awards player. So
yeah. All well said. So Laron Chapman is in love. Korey Eakers, what did you think of Sinners?
Ryan Coogler does it again, man. He has a very brilliant way of telling. I don't even want to say a black story, but he has a very good way of showcasing black experiences, but just making them human experiences that are relatable for everyone. He has a special way of conveying themes and messages without beating you over the head with it, and he's getting better at that. Compared to some of his other films, he's in a sense done that with everything except not too much with Creed, I believe. But with this, he makes you understand these people's feelings and what they're going through in a day to life. And I'll say this, he made me feel a way that I haven't felt since probably Tarantino with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where even if there were no vampires, I just want to spend a day with these people.
Yeah.
Like I like if this was a season of television, I just want to see what Smoke and Stack are getting into. I want to see what the shop owners are getting into. Like he really gave so much characterization in this 2 hours or however long it is. As somebody who has familial roots in the American South, ancestors who worked the plantations, it was just a beautiful story that, because so many Black Americans have those roots in the South. I had family who were in the Dust Bowl, who had to leave Oklahoma and go to places like Chicago, Los Angeles, and then some of them had to end up coming back to Oklahoma, and they said the same things. It's the same thing just with skyscrapers. It was very, very, very personal to me. Coogler, he's a brilliant storyteller and a brilliant world builder. I don't know how he just has a gift, man. He has that gift. Whatever it is,
and he's so young.
He's
just getting started.
38.
He's just getting started.
12 years old, unbelievable.
a legendary filmography at 38 already, and like you said, he's just getting started, man. Incredible world builder. I have a lot more to say, but I'll just start there. He writes characters that feel like family for me. But I don't think it's just because I'm Black. I feel like everyone, has a crazy uncle like Delta Slim.
He humanizes these people in a way that is relatable to everybody. Yeah, even if there is like a strong ethnic, context, there's definitely a relatability about all the relationships in this film. So I agree with you.
And it's so important that we get more Black filmmakers or more filmmakers from every background, different kind of backgrounds, that get a chance to write characters with depth and humanize them in this way. So beautiful. Loved it.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it. Something that you and Laron are saying is the way the world building, the texture. I think Laron is the way you use it. It's crazy that in like 2 hours, it's so lived in. You feel like you know all these characters personally. And there's also it's not just the world building. It's also, you know, a whole story that's unpacking. Just really, really impressive tapestry weaving, I would say.
And a very strong sense of setting. Like the sense of place is very, very fully realized, I feel.
Yeah. Broccoli, what did you think of Sinners?
I mean, I'm in the same boat. I mean, especially sitting with it, it's sat with me for days since we saw it on Thursday. It's just one of those films that's just beautifully shot. Like, just even like how he shoots, like, you know, they're on the, you know, in the corn, not the cornfields. That's so dumb. The cotton fields. Like, it's just like, it's beautifully shot, even though that's something that's, you know, such a bad spot, a bad place that people think about, like, during that time. I liked how even during that time they don't show men as like loving towards women, but you could tell with like every man in this film, they like with the woman that they were like kind of partnered with, they had a deep respect and love for them. I don't want to get into it for spoilers, but each one had their reasons either for doing what they did or like kind of pushing them away. And I love how we stay always during the credits, because like just like Coogler, just with that world building and just the authenticity of it, just all of the people he had working on the film to make sure that he was being accurate in portraying, you know, obviously the African-American side, but then the Chinese immigrant side, how those people came in during that time and had to kind of play both sides of, you know, making markets or, you know, stores for Black people, but also trying to do it for white people as well and trying to play both sides of that. So I think, like, again, just Coogler's just so good at what he does, and he's really, like, as you said, just thoughtful in how he portrays it, because he's not trying to beat you over the head with it. Like, you're getting what he's trying to say, and you don't feel like he's trying to force you into it, but you see with what, like, how, like, he's written it and how the characters and the actors are portraying it, that, like, it, like, really soaks in and really, like, kind of stays with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. So Nathan, you bring us home here. What do you think of the film?
I think I watched the wrong Sinners. 4 a.m. Cinemax. Is this? I'm not recognizing any of these
This
names.
film was just as horny as anything else.
This
was a horny film.
No, you guys said a lot and hit a lot of wonderful points. But it takes so many big swings.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of vampire movies recently. You mentioned Abigail. We mentioned Nosferatu earlier, but this holds its own. It's fascinating. It makes all of those, uses those characters in a really interesting way. And he's just, man, swinging for the fences. It's a music movie. Mm-hmm. It's a historical drama. There's some really fascinating history that you might actually walk away learning something from this. There's multiple love stories. And there's still some surprises baked in there, like Sammy's character, which that wasn't on my radar at all.
Yeah.
He kind of steals the show in multiple scenes, and Sizzler right there. But I was just wowed by how ambitious this was. Like, when you take swings that big and you make something this bold and beautiful, it's hard not to enjoy it, even if all of those swings don't land with you.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, you know, if we want to talk about the worst case example of taking swings that all miss, you look at something like Megalopolis, and this is definitely.
I thought about that movie
What a mess.
while I watched this.
But for real though, I mean, it is kind of. It seems like a joke, but like, listen, that is a director who
So much confidence.
Yeah, but like, he doesn't. See, Coogler he kind of knows like how to like put limitations on himself that make him a better, more compelling storyteller. It's like, that's a big swing, but also here's how it ties into this like larger tapestry without being like hit you over the head with the message, which is something like Megalopolis is.
It's
like,
so funny you bring Megalopolis, because that's what came to mind a lot while I was watching. It's like, you know, there are two auteurs who made movies, you know, that like they took a big swing, but you know, the difference is that here, if he lands those things and the hands touch, He's like got his hand around a lot of things here, but the hands are touching in that regard. Like he's got a hold of it, and that confidence never feels like arrogance or pretentiousness. It's in service of a bigger tapestry of things.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Pretentious isn't even a word that comes to mind in relation to film at all.
But with Megalopolis, I would say it's just pretension. The movie.
I mean, the 9/11 references in that movie, not pretentious at all. No, again, Megalopolis, not Sinners. To be clear, no. So you guys have said it, covered it really well. A couple things I want to hone in on, just in relation to that, though. To see an auteur filmmaker get to make an original movie.
The movie he wants.
The movie that clearly, it doesn't look like there was any compromises in this. Yeah. Like, this is his baby. And for it to be such a home run creatively, and for it to, like, make some money, all of these things make me very happy, because we're in a really weird point in cinema. Stuff like this used to get, in the 80s, 90s, stuff like this would get made a lot more often. Now it's like, no studio is willing to back creative, ambitious, personal projects like this. And it's also nice to see that Coogler was given a shot and took it and nailed it.
And it paid off.
And it pays off, right? So anyway, I just want to say, I think this is a win for African-American, Black filmmakers, frankly, non-white filmmakers, non-IP film. I think this is a huge win. And also, we talked about this about Nosferatu a little bit, a movie we quite liked, and Abigail as well. I think we generally liked that as well. This is so much bolder and more original and contemporary than either of those movies. So to see a vampire story told with such audacity and creativity in the year 2025, just it feels like I want to see 10 more of these. Other small things I just want to hit on. Michael B. Jordan, guys. He's a freaking movie star.
2 of them, man.
2 of them. I mean, I've loved him in everything, but the amount of charisma oozing out of this guy's ears in the movie is just every scene's a stealer. I thought the soundtrack and the score was phenomenal. There's
a much different.
I've been listening
score.
to the soundtrack.
It's very, it's
so
very
good.
like, I don't know, like it's much different from his Oppenheimer one, but that just shows you he's so versatile as a composer. Like this is completely different, and yet it's this. Again, another full meal in terms of sonically, with the film.
Did you see that Ludwig had a producer credit on this as well?
Oh. I did not notice that.
I
know they were credits, like college friends or something like that. They've known each other for roommates. They've known each other for quite a while. So
they're roommates? Holy cow!
Yeah. They have a long history.
Don't you love it when you see these two crazy talented people and they're like, oh yeah, we were roommates. What? How does that happen?
And what's even crazier is he's a music producer, and he produced, I believe it was Childish Gambino and then Haim, which are like two opposite ends of musical spectrum again.
Absolutely,
and they're both fantastic. So it just shows again just that range that he has.
I also want to give a shout out to Haley Steinfeld. She had she did a little singing in this. Frankly, I've been a fan of hers since obviously True Grit, Edge of 17, two movies, but like
Pitch Perfect.
Don't disrespect the slander.
Sorry. Anyway, love to see her getting her hands on some genre work. It's always fun. So anyway, I just everything about this movie. I don't know if this is a perfect movie, but holy shit, this is the best for me. This is the best movie I've seen this year by like a mile. It's not even close. And every other movie I see this year, I'm going to be comparing to Sinners at this point.
I would have liked more of the Native Americans.
Honestly,
that's my own. You said what did I not like? That's the one that stuck out.
Yeah, they were a little shortchanged. I will agree.
I think that was
focused on other things.
They had to get home. They were the smart ones.
They're like, sun's going down.
We're not.
Nope. He wrote their story. They stayed home, and that's why they survived.
Well, let's jump into it, because you know what we haven't actually talked about hardly at all yet is the actual vampires.
Oh yeah.
So how well do you guys think this works as a vampire horror film? Did you like the way they realized them and utilized them in the story? Nathan, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah. I mean, strong start by making the central vampire such a freaking intense weirdo. Just promising you fellowship and love right from the like it felt more like he was a cult leader.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Remind me of that actor's name.
Jack O'Connell.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a lot, but his freaky eyes are going to be in my nightmares for a minute. But they're effective. They're creepy. I don't know all of the rules as far as like when their faces change and their wounds show up, but I really didn't care too much about the particulars there because they're still scary as hell. But as far as the rules go, they made those as interesting as they could in such a small, limited kind of location where they get kind of cornered up there. But man, Those vampires, maybe best singing vampires in a movie ever.
You know, I saw a Letterboxd review from, I think it was Patrick Williams, and his review was, holy cow, Ryan Coogler used his blank check movie to make a rap battle movie about blues versus Irish jig.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Those guys can sing some Irish tunes.
War never changes, is what you're getting at. But boy, oh boy, I don't know how much of that blood was CGI or not. It looked like they were using some practical effects.
Yeah. Michael B. Jordan says it's definitely practical.
He was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Good, because that really came across as well. Like it looked like those suckers were literally drinking quarts of blood during that thing, and that took it the extra mile for me. But yeah, they freaked me out.
Freak you out, Korey? What did you think of the vampires in the film?
You know, okay, so if you're gonna do a genre film like this, and if you want to dive into something like vampires, me personally, I want to see you add something to the lore, and I think Coogler knocked it out the park in terms of the story he wanted to tell, being so centralized around music and the way the vampires are attracted to the songs. I thought that was brilliant. I don't know. This is still the spoiler.
We're still spoiler free. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll keep it light. We'll go, and we will go more into especially the musical connections and stuff in the spoilers. Yeah.
Well, I will say that, you know, the way he's trying to tell a story, he's telling stories about race relations in America through horror and vampires.
Yeah.
But again, he doesn't beat you over the head with it. These are just random vampires that happen to run into a random group of people, and it's really brilliant how he did it. I do say, I wish I saw some more Native Americans, because who are they? Like, why do they know these things? You know what I mean? That would have been, I think they would have added some more lore into it. One thing Coogler loves to do, he likes to tell a little bit of the story in the opening credits, a little bit. I'm actually not the biggest fan of that. I get how he does it, but I would rather see something in the film, see more in the film, tell that story. But I really loved the music aspect of the vampires and how they were connected to that. I thought that was brilliant, and shout out to him for adding something to the lore of vampires moving forward. That was brilliant.
Yeah. So like the vampires, they're after more than just blood. Like they have, as you said, they're attracted to certain types of people, that to join their cult.
Sounds, music.
Yeah. We'll get more into it in spoilers, but yeah, that was a really interesting component I hadn't considered before. Brock, what did you think of the vamps?
First of all, I like to think that the Native Americans had like a really sick drum circle going or something, maybe, and that's how they found him. Second, you said Jack O'Connell was like some kind of crazy cult leader. Guess what? In 28 years later, that's exactly who he's going to play.
I knew it. Is he the religious dude?
He's telegraphing himself.
Yes.
Is he's like the priest or whatever in that movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
going to be a cult leader.
Can't wait.
So in terms of a vampire movie, I did not like it, but that does not mean I didn't like the movie. And this is me going off of all the set pieces from every vampire movie that I love, From Dusk to Dawn being one. Lost Boys at the end. Can't watch that movie without, sorry, Caleb.
No.
Getting nerve-wracked. But I like to think that he reverse From Dusk Till Dawn us. We went in expecting a vampire movie and got something so much more than that. Just like how you expected a heist movie from Dusk to Dawn, but it was a vampire movie. So
the inverse.
Yeah, he inversed it. And so, and I do see the Tarantino pulls that he has, like not getting into anything, but they're coming back to open this juke jive, this club, and where they got the money and all of that is a story in and of itself that we never see.
Right.
And so that's kind of like what he did with From Dusk Till Dawn. You see Richie and Seth after they do what they do, and then they're going for the hideout. So I just really love that. Like, I went into this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a dope vampire movie. And I left thinking, holy shit, that was culturally one of the best films I've seen. And it really makes me think about a lot of stuff that I need to be thinking about more.
All right. Well said. Laron, Chapman.
Yeah, I feel like the vampires here are kind of secondary to the larger, broader story that he's saying. Like they're functional in this in a different way than they would be in like a traditional vampire movie. They kind of seem to be more symbolic. In many ways, I mean, if I'm kind of thinking about how they were how the predatory nature was used in like Get Out, for example, like they're exploiting a certain thing that they themselves can't. You know what I mean? Like they don't possess it organically here. So they're kind of trying to absorb that in a way. So it's kind of like he's having a conversation about the appropriation of this culture, you know what I mean? And how, and what this music and this kind of rich tapestry of Black art and how, what it's doing for these people, you know, the liberation that it's giving them, you know, that they're not really afforded to in the larger society. It's like they're trying to siphon that, you know, in their own way. And I found that a really interesting way to kind of see vampires as they've always been predators, but there's something else they're after besides just blood here, you know, and I think that was interesting. So,
yeah, no, I don't have much more to add. I think you guys have all said it pretty well. It's, I mean, it's probably 45 minutes before Jack O'Connell shows up. Even as like in his little in his little initial introduction. I mean, we're a good hour plus into the movie before it really turns into a vampire thriller. Before that, it's just a really good, compelling drama. Like you said, there's again world building. Oh man, yeah, we were mobsters. We were working for the mob in Chicago. That's a whole HBO series right there. I mean, potentially not. You know, I mean, I hope they don't do that, but that's how rich the world and the characters are.
I would 100% watch that.
Like, what's funny is like, what if he wouldn't have done the vampire? And it's like, hey, it's these guys opening a jute jive bar.
They're just fighting
in
the
the
KKK.
middle of the Deep South with the Ku Klux Klan, like hot on their trail, and people, and then, you know, I don't know, just kind of cool.
That could have been the. I mean,
I'd watch that movie too.
Yeah.
We almost kind of did. It's just it's right there.
But the set pieces felt a little flat and rushed, and that's my only reason why I didn't like it as a vampire movie.
I do have not necessarily related to the vampire part. I do have. There are some like weird plot things that I have questions about. We'll probably talk about in spoilers. Where I was like, I don't understand why this character made this very specific decision in this moment. And it's sort of related to like how they set the set pieces up. It doesn't ruin the movie for me, but there's some weird choices made with the set pieces. I
had to pick a nit, and that was it.
But the vampires I think are great, and I think the only thing I'd add is, and I think Korey and Laron, you guys have said it very well, but like vampires are really best used when they're in service of a larger idea, larger themes that we're exploring, and I think just the idea that there's a rich cultural history that these people have that the vampires are after. They don't just want their blood. They want the culture. They want their history, their legacy to be part of like the hive, because it's just so enticing. And the movie does a great job at showing you why someone like a vampire would be like, you got something and I want it. How can I get that? You know, run into my veins, literally. What do you guys think about, you know, we praised Coogler a lot. What sort of like themes and cinematic techniques you guys think he's really bringing back into the fold here? I mean, we've seen him do Black Panther, Fruitvale Station, even Creed. Like, I feel like he is playing with a lot of familiar themes, some remixing, especially a lot of Black Panther in particular. I found kind of the idea of like the way they would represent history and heritage and like your ancestors, and like this big through line about like what connects families together. I don't know. I'm curious, what do you guys think about like how he's bringing those themes and cinematic techniques back to the fold?
Something that came to mind for me when I was watching this was, I obviously came to know him from Fruitvale Station, thought it was great, and is the single day film, because that movie also takes place over the course of one long day, and how he's the coexistence also of Black joy with Black pain, and how they have to kind of be in the same space at the same time at all times. I love those parallels when I was thinking of Fruitvale Station, kind of how Michael B. Jordan's character in that movie, we're introduced to him, we get to see how he interacts with his mother, how he interacts with his girlfriend, how he interacts at work, and how he interacts with his young daughter. in all of those spaces, he is a different person almost. It seems like he's turning on like this. There's moments where he's charming and warm. There's moments when he's cunning and fierce. And then, and there's moments when, you see his rage or his anger, his frustration with his job and where he's at in life. And I feel like there's a lot of those parallels here where this haven that they've created for themselves in this juke joint, is kind of a place where they're bringing all of that together, like the pain and the agony, but also the release, the cathartic release they get from, enjoying this music and conjuring this music that's existed before them, but is also kind of honoring the people before them. And I found that those parallels between history and art and heritage is all just very, very, very well realized, and creates really, really potent moments in both films. So.
Yeah, I didn't mention this in our initial review, but I just want to call out, there's at least 2 sequences in this movie that...
At least 2, but definitely the one.
At least, no, there's the one.
The one.
The one.
Yeah.
But there's a couple other ones but there's the one that I'm watching it, and I really like the movie we've seen up until this point. Like, I'm like, this is really a strong setup, really digging it, can't wait to see they go. And then you hit the sequence, and I'm like, floored. I was like, I've never seen anything like this before, and it's freaking blowing me away. And that's when I was like, this movie is cooking, and just like shot to the top of I am locked in. What are we doing, Ryan Coogler? This is amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So related to the thing you just said about culture, art, heritage,
absolutely.
Yeah, like Nathan, what did you make about like how maybe we revisit some of Coogler's past work?
I think that there's this sense of looking for freedom, wanting this thing, and there's a lot of shit that gets in the way. I think about like Black Panther. He's got a lot of this, his sights set on what he's supposed to be, what he's supposed to become, and it is not as easy as you would think to get there. Mm-hmm. And what we're exploring a lot in Sinners is just seeing like even when these people think they're free, that danger is just literally lurking right around the corner. I think that's a sort of through line that we've seen in his work in the past. And I don't know, he adds a lot of extra meaning there. And I don't know, that helped elevate it. I know I definitely want to talk about the scene that you're speaking to, and we'll get there with the spoilers. But like, he's taking us to the past, he's taking us to the future, and blending it all together. It's some fascinating stuff.
Yeah. Like I said, there's some sequences in Black Panther in here where they're talking about like family lineage, where they're in the family trees that I need to rewatch Black Panther, but when I was watching, I was like, this feels, even visually, there's a very similar motif that he's using to kind of communicate these ideas.
Family's hugely important in this. There's not like, it doesn't go 5-10 minutes without somebody mentioning an uncle or a father, or why this happened, or what, are you ever going to tell me what actually happened? That's something that we also saw back in Black Panther. What actually happened? When are you ready to hear what happened during those heavy moments? So you're seeing a lot of these characters having to grow up, and rather quickly too.
Mm-hmm. And I would say even in Creed, I mean, because that whole movie is really about him Adonis picking up Apollo's legacy, and like what that entails, and why a person might struggle with that, the
pressure of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think again, family being a strong theme throughout.
Oh yeah,
his body of work.
Sammy's the son of he's the preacher's boy, right? He's his son, and that weighs heavily throughout the whole movie.
As a PK who has turned himself into a podcaster, I can relate deeply to the struggle. Brock, what do you make? I mean, like in terms of like connecting the dots.
That's what I had, was kind of family. It's, sons trying to either live up to their fathers and carve their own path, or take what their father have done and go the opposite direction. With Smoke and Stack, you could tell that they didn't have very fond memories of their dad, and they're trying to carve their own way away from him. And so I think that's just kind of something that we've seen outside of probably of Fruitvale Station, but just, with Creed, and again with Black Panther, like we just said, just trying to pick up the torch and either carry it, do better, or, create your own legacy under the big shadow of who came before you.
Yeah. Last, like stray thought, not complete. It just kind of occurred to me. I think another thing we've seen a lot of is this idea, again, going back to the Black community, which is, Smoke and Stack have all this money. They could theoretically just go off on their own. But no. We've gone it. We got out. we did our thing, and we've seen and experienced this incredible wealth. We're free now, and we want to share it with you. Give you just a little taste of like this thing that we've earned, even though we've barely earned it ourselves. You know, why I say earned, stole, whatever, however you want to look at it, interpret that. Inherited, yeah. Come to, yeah. So anyway, I don't know if that's not a fully complete thought, but that is the thing. Like, you know, in Black Panther, it's, you know, about like taking on the leadership role and sharing prosperity. And the big question in those movies is, Wakanda has this advanced technology. Do we share it with the world?
There's a selflessness to it. This idea that it's not just for me to hoard. It is definitely something to share and spread. Yeah.
And there's a scene in the movie with, I think it's Smoke, where they're in the joint and someone's like trying to pay, and you can kind of tell that he has that kind of that tender heart trying to give back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coogler does a few things that I really love, and I feel like this film, again, I'll bring up Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because I feel like Quentin poured a lot of everything he's learned into Once Upon a Time, and I feel like Coogler does the same thing. You guys talked about family a lot, but in this kind of the same vein, but a little bit different, I want to talk about how good Coogler is about showing community, right? So you have Smoke going off into town, into the shops, handling all that stuff because he's the, you know, I guess we're not, yes, well, sorry.
It's in the premise. You can talk about it, you know, like.
He goes off and does his thing. Stat goes off and does his thing. They're both interacting with the community differently based off of their different personalities. And I really love how Coogler just shows people being people within the community.
And the interactions between all of them and the different, whether they're just buying something from a market or, you know, interacting with somebody by their car. It's just, it all feels very, very organic.
Yeah.
Even when you're shooting a kid, you're like, oh, wait, you're so-and-so? Oh, well.
Love it.
Can't lose my rep.
Community, tragedy. Yeah. If you look at Wakanda Forever, the way he handles tragic situations, and I'll go a step further, even say trauma, there's a certain way that he portrays like how the Black community experiences generational trauma. And one thing he did in this film I really liked was, and he's done it several times before, but romance. Yeah. There's several different kinds of romance in this movie. Man, I can just see him growing and developing his voice and his artistic language kind of is growing, and I really think he showcased those things very well in this movie. I was really impressed by all those.
Yeah, no, I think that's well said too, and I think what's I love to see is I don't know if Coogler could have made this right after Fruitvale Station. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's been able to really hone his craft, working in big studio projects, learning how all these moving parts work together, while also sort of from a story perspective, exploring a lot of ideas that interest him. And like you said, for this movie, kind of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like you said, he brings it all into like, it feels like the movie he's been wanting to make for a long time, sort of thing. Yeah, really well said. Well, one last question before we get to letter grades, and that's just so this is sort of, I'm kind of throwing you guys a little bit of a curveball, but I don't know how much you guys keep up with the way this movie has been reported at the box office. Have any of you guys you guys kept up? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for listeners, it's been a really weird cycle reporting on Sinners' box office performance. So on one hand, it, like I said earlier, I think it had a U.S. domestic box office gross of, was it 46 million?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, for a non-IP rated R movie,
in April,
pretty impressive. I mean, it's not Oppenheimer numbers, but you know, there's not very many $900 million grossers out there at all. Worldwide, it was 61 million. And yet the reporting has been really strange. So here's a tweet copy promoting their box office report for the week from Variety. Sinners has amassed $61 million in its global debut. It's a great result for an original R-rated horror film, yet Warner Brothers' release has a $90 million price tag before global marketing expenses, so profitability remains a way away. Here's another one from New York Times. Sinners is a box office success, in parentheses, with a big asterisk. So I'll just read the first line here. Sinners sold an estimated $46 million in tickets in North America from Thursday afternoon through Sunday. Box office analyst said, a terrific result for an original R-rated, slow-burning horror drama set in 1930s and rooted in Black culture. But the film, directed and written and produced by Ryan Coogler, was expensive analyst noted, costing Warner Brothers at least $150 million to make and market worldwide. The studio also agreed to the demands of Mr. Coogler's representation for unusually generous compensation, meaning the exclusive rights to the film 25 years later. So as a result, Warner Brothers, to make money for Sinners, will need to attract substantial crowds in the weeks ahead. Now, we don't often talk about this on this show. Occasionally we'll talk about like the reaction, but this is very bizarre to me because COVID times, I remember when it felt like the press was the only ones convinced that Dune Part 1 had actually made money. They kept telling us, guys, movie that cost a fortune barely breaks even, but it's a huge hit. So it just is very strange to me that we have an original film by a black filmmaker that's taken some gutsy swings, and the reporting is like, well, it did pretty good, but is it good enough? I don't know.
There's like a hesitation to give it the win. Yeah.
Give it the win. I don't know. What do you think about that, Laron? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I sure it needs to make its money back. I'd also say, guys, it's week 1.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like let's see where the legs go with this. I mean,
word of mouth's pretty dang positive.
It's pretty positive. It might generate. You never know. It might win the box office next weekend too. You know. So it's just I think it's too early to call, but I was still happy with the results of how many people came at this. I was nervous that like, is this just something I care about? You know what I mean? Like, and so it's nice to see that this seems to be pretty universally beloved across race, across age, across, you know what I mean? Like it seems to be appealing to critics and audiences. So I'm confident that it'll do well and it'll make its money back. So
yeah,
I'm not concerned.
Yeah. Korey?
I hate that we look at movies like this, man. Nobody asked. Nobody cares how much the canvas Da Vinci costs to paint. You know what I mean? Like nobody cares about. This is art. You know what I mean?
Right. How much money did Killers of the Flower Moon make Apple?
Who cares?
It's still a great movie.
It's a great movie, man. I just don't think art should be looked at this way, especially since it's a horror film. Like you said, in April, rated R. We those things never do numbers. Let's talk about the product. Mm-hmm. I get it's a business. The film industry is a business, and we have to talk about the numbers. But these narratives, Ryan Coogler isn't looked at in the same way as other directors.
Yeah,
I'll say maybe it's because he spent so much time in Marvel. Maybe it's some other reason. I don't know. But it seems a little nefarious to me.
Yeah, I agree.
If we look at it in pure terms of art,
what did people think of the movie? That's really the legacy.
We're not talking about the 98%, or is it 97 now? Whatever it is.
Yeah,
or like the overwhelmingly positive, like Ron said, audience scores. It's like with the reporting could just
cinema score, which is really
cinema score for horror never happens,
which is like
ever
impossible.
Well, why isn't? I mean, it's like just the narrative could just as easily be movie has strong start and positive word of mouth, like because it might only have like a 50% drop next week, in which case it makes what's that 23 million in weekend 2, which is still really good. I mean, it's just I agree it's too soon. I'm more frustrated just the narrative behind the business. Just,
I think it's gonna have legs though.
Yeah,
the word of mouth is incredible. That great Rotten Tomato score is gonna help, and like we said, Michael B. Jordan's a star, man. I think it's going to have good legs, and I think they need to focus more on that instead of being, as we call, haters, reporting. And let me say this too. In today's day and age, I feel like a 90, because the budget for the film was 90 million. I guess they may have spent another 50 on marketing.
Probably, yeah.
Which I'm glad they did.
Oh, yeah.
This is a film that you need to market. You need to push this. But since, in today's day and age, why is a $90 million film a bad thing? When you got Marvel films spending $300 and barely making any of that back.
Well, and this movie looks
What's the Netflix
way better.
movie that we talked about earlier that just
Electric State?
$300 million?
400.
It looks
it
like
was like between 300 and 400,
yeah. I'm just saying.
Shout out Ben Stiller. So I think it was a Variety. Ben Stiller wrote them back and was like, what the hell are you even talking about? And said like, that's incredible. It's a great movie. Like you're bringing it down. And I read like from that you keep bringing up Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was released in 2019 on like a $90 million budget. It made $41 million its opening weekend. And I would love to hear what was said about that film.
But that's what I was talking about. Coogler doesn't get that same, and I get it. Quentin's been in Hollywood for 30 years now.
Yeah, but yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I fully understand that he has earned the right to make his art without the criticism of the budgets and stuff. I feel like every director should get that privilege.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that the word of mouth just on the scene that we all know alone, like seeing that in theaters was insane. Like people will want to go watch that. I want to go watch it again.
Same.
Even though I love the movie, but that one scene is beautiful. It's like a once in a lifetime like scene to see in movies because it's so, like you said, it's a swing and it hits.
Mm-hmm. Nathan, anything you want to add about how we talk about how press talks about movies in terms of like box office success?
I was the press once. Check the bylines. All descendants of the Hogwood family. Yeah, look it up. No, I feel like if this was released just on Netflix, the conversation even would be a little bit different. I feel like they would paint it as a big stinky hit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's something in there that's just not enough to some people. But it defied my expectations. I think it did better this weekend. I mean, international around 60 million. I mean, you're practically there. I mean, it's just like it's
2 more weeks, you'll probably hit your budget, and then beyond that, it's profit, and then you got
also POVOD numbers.
Yeah, then you got So
it's so early in the game. There's still a lot of people that will enjoy this. I saw it twice this weekend. Saw it once myself, and then a buddy wanted to see it on IMAX. See it on the biggest thing that you can.
Yep.
Honestly, I don't know. It's a little weird.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to bring that up. That has been a lot of the conversation when I was looking online, just checking social media, has been about like how it's being reported. And it's just bizarre to me because the last thing I'd say is, I mean, I feel like a common thing, probably a lot of us here, we get movies, is like, man, they just don't make original movies that are like middle of the road budget for adults. And I'm like, this is literally the definition of that. And now we're going to criticize it for not making enough money, even though it's outperformed pretty much any other movie in that same tier. And by the way, there's not that many of them.
Yeah. When you give an auteur a blank check to make the movie you want, this is the movie you want him to make. It's not Megalopolis.
Right.
It's this, you know what I'm saying? Like it's this one, you know,
Right.
so, but I guess his was self-financed, and that's its own story.
Still, auteur. All right. Well, enough of that. But what letter grade would we give Sinners? I'll start with you, Broccoli.
I'm going to give it an A. I'll keep it short. A.
A. Nathan Poppe.
Yeah, I'm is there something between an A and an A minus?
Hey.
A it is.
No, it's a A.
Yeah, I'm gonna round up. I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna give this one an A.
A. Korey?
You already know this is A for me. Dare I say
Yes,
A
sir.
plus?
Yeah, A pluses, snaps. All right, I love to hear that.
I am
LeBron?
also going to give it an A.
A as well. I have a couple of nits to pick. So not quite A plus, but damn, this movie is so good. We've already said all the things. What else would we recommend people check out if they enjoyed Sinners or are interested in watching more films like Sinners? I'll throw it back around at you, Laron.
You should definitely see Fruitvale Station to kind of see the trajectory of his work. I think just something that recently just came out in theaters, Freaky Tales in theaters, another movie with similar themes and satisfying conclusions. We'll just say that. And then I feel like he also kind of harnessed a lot of the kind of the black rage in some of the Tarantino films we mentioned. So I think definitely like Django or even Inglourious Basterds to a certain extent, you know, the idea of not revisionist history necessarily, but, you know, like, but definitely giving the characters that you wouldn't normally give agency to agency and their own hero stories. So,
All right. Very cool. Man, a lot of Tarantino shout-outs here today. Korey, what would you recommend to folks?
If you like Sinners, you definitely need to jump into Lovecraft Country.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And in every aspect, it's set kind of in the same era. I believe Lovecraft Country is in the mid-40s. Sinners takes place in 1931 or 32.
I think it's 32, yeah.
32, yeah. Deals with a lot of supernatural things. Lovecraft Country is an anthology kind of, so like one episode it's like some werewolf type creatures, and another episode you're like time traveling, doing sci-fi stuff. So if you're into the supernatural, if you're into black stories, if you're into period piece stories, definitely jump into Lovecraft Country.
Very cool. That one is streaming now on Max. Nathan Poppe, what would you recommend?
A little bit of a different tone, but I would suggest Twins. Another movie about twins. I'm going to say I'm such a sucker for a few different movie tropes, boxing movies for one.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you haven't watched the Creed trilogy, go back and watch the Creed trilogy as well. I know we've already suggested some of his work, but it's worth a rewatch if you haven't seen it recently.
I think that's going to be a seriously underrated trilogy, like one of the greatest film trilogies
From the past, 15 years?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, all three of them are great to
Yeah.
varying degrees of great, sure, but like they're all great. And if we don't get another one, if there's not a fourth one, I feel like three really brings that character's story to a really satisfying conclusion. Yeah, great recommend.
Yep.
Brockway?
I have two. One taking place in kind of like a apartment hotel. People trapped in there while a demonic force is outside waiting on them, trying to get in something that it needs, and that would be Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. One of Billy Zane's greatest performances ever, and I'm not joking. It's unhinged, it's crazy, and he is super cool in that movie. And the next one to play off the horniness of Sinners while taking place in one location, and it's all one shot, would be Gaspar Noé's Climax, which is a
deep cut.
It's on the edge of your seat, tension the entire way through. It's a crazy movie that is a fun ride.
Wow, you guys' picks were way more creative than mine. I was just going to say the Coen brothers double feature of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And then, like I said, Inside Llewyn Davis is another one that I really love just because of the way they incorporate the soundtrack. And the music sort of has like a soul-like quality to the story they're trying to tell. Very folky, both of them. Different kind of folky. But I felt there was a lot of times watching Sinners, I was like, this feels like a Coen brothers moment or like
that was Scorsese in there too. Kind of just a lot of different influences. I feel like I love the Faculty one that he said that was something he
didn't say from Until Dusk Till Dawn. He said the Faculty
specifically.
We're not spoiler yet.
But yes,
Yes.
so sorry. Yeah,
But
I just wanted to save it just in case.
But can we just shout out the Faculty? I love that movie.
It's such a cheeseball movie that I can
love it.
watch every year.
Is it good? Maybe not, but I love it.
No,
I love it.
the
But
fact.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Robert Rodriguez again.
Yeah.
I rewatched From Dusk Till Dawn over the weekend.
Don't you dare.
And no, it's great. It's what's sad is I was like, why hasn't Robert Rodriguez made a great movie in like 25 years?
Yeah.
But man, he was so good for a really long time.
We Could Be Heroes. My kid watched that probably 100 times in 3 weeks. The Neo sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
You're right. Yeah, I have missed out on the follow-ups to Shark Boy and Lava Girl, so I am.
Your
missing
loss.
out. It is my loss. That's true.
It is actually mine.
All right, listeners. Well, hey, we are going to spoil the hell out of Sinners. So if you don't want to be spoiled on the film, and seriously, if you haven't seen it yet and you've gotten this far, don't spoil yourself. Go to the movie. Stop listening. Go to the movie. Come back later. But if you don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and tune out now.
Does anybody know what's going on here?
I know what's going on. We got a bunch of fucking vampires out there trying to get in here and suck our fucking blood. And that's it, plain and simple. And I don't want to hear anything about I don't believe in vampires. Because I don't fucking believe in vampires. But I believe in my own two eyes, and what I saw is fucking vampires. Now, do we all agree that what we are dealing with is vampires?
Yes.
You too, preacher?
I don't believe in vampires, but I believe in what I saw.
Good for you. All right, now that we all agree that we're dealing with vampires, what do we know about vampires? Crosses hurt vampires. Do we have a cross?
In the motorhome.
In other words, no.
Wait a second. I mean, just look around. We got crosses all over the place. All you gotta do is put two sticks together. You got a cross.
Yeah, he's right. Peter Cushing does that all the time.
I want to start off just by getting right into the ending, because I feel like by unlocking that, we can talk about a lot of different components of the movie. Because I'm thinking about how this approaches familiar vampire themes of immortality and what that looks like by combining with like things like blues, for example. But the film ends with Smoke letting his brother go before killing Remick, right before the sun comes up, eliminating the rest of the vampire horde. Sammy returns to the church while Smoke uses his dying breath to gun down the KKK that sold him the barn. Whoa, boy, just gotta say, that was a great sequence. That's all I'm gonna say. It was a great sequence, and it hit. It really hit. Decades later, it is revealed that Sammy did not give up on the blues, but instead moved to Chicago and became a professional blues musician, played by Buddy Guy. Stack and Mary also apparently survived and revisit Sammy in the mid-credit sequence, offering him a chance to be immortal, and he decides to turn them down. So let's start by talking about this epilogue sort of moment between Smoke and Sammy and Mary. How does Center sort of use this mid-credits epilogue to put all these films, ideas, spirituality, heritage, blues music, immortality, bring it all together in sort of like an emotional way? Laron, I'll start with you first.
I feel like the film is like exploring these themes of identity, free will, Black history, and liberation through the arts, and music is kind of this thing that's, providing them this feeling of freedom and security and agency. And I kind of felt like his rejection of the offer shows that he's kind of evolved to his fullest potential, and that through no influence of theirs, and that essentially he's standing in his own power in this moment on his own terms. And his instrument of the guitar itself feels like this symbol of salvation, and how he's been able to kind of create his own path through a gift that is given to him from his ancestors. So there's this kind of this reclamation of something where it's like what they're trying to offer is something he's already sustaining himself. And so I felt that was a really powerful just exchange, where because he could have had that moment, that chance, and he didn't want it. He was happy. He was fulfilled where he was in that moment. So a nice moment of him making things on his own terms. So yeah.
Yeah. Hadn't thought about it in that context, because I was thinking about it more like there's sort of this idea that they exchange. I found it particularly moving was, they have this whole exchange, and he turns them down, and he's like, you want to know, before the sun came up, that was the greatest day of my life. And it was like, for him, he's like, I know I'm never going to relive that high.
Yeah.
So what you have to offer me is no good. I've lived a full life, as you say, but also what you're going to give me, the trade-off isn't worth it, because I've already lived the best that life has to offer that one day.
Yeah.
And that was also really interesting, the way that, Smoke, Smoke, well, what about you? And he's like, yeah, that was the greatest day of my life. I almost made me cry a little bit, because he's like, that was the greatest day of my life too. He's like, it was the last time I saw the sun come up, last time I saw my brother. And for just one day, I felt like I was free. Yeah. And I was, really, really, really hits.
There's a little bit of darkness in there still when he reflects on the fact that about once a week, he'll wake up paralyzed and go back to that moment. So even though he made it out and he had a lot of the
that
success,
trauma's still there. Yeah.
It's complicated, right?
Yeah.
It's not all gone.
Yeah.
And he even seems a little world weary. I think I've seen enough of this world.
Yeah. I'm sick of this shit.
And he's like, do you want to know how I got these scars?
Yes.
That's one thing. If he conjured Remick from how he plays music, and then he continued playing music the rest of his life, why was there never another vampire or demon kind of thing that was?
I wondered if they were watching over him.
Maybe Stack was like, hey, he's one of us.
That's
he's
one
idea. Mine. Leave him alone.
Yeah. I mean, what did you think about the ending, Korey?
Oh man. So the perfect music to portray a story like this is the blues.
Yeah.
Because the blues is about your pain. When you're telling a story about generational trauma, the blues is kind of like the perfect vehicle if you're using music as a storytelling device to kind of convey that kind of story and the pain that's in this kind of story. So obviously that was great, but for me, that epilogue, it wasn't about trauma or the pain. It was more about Black perseverance. I like the fact that he kept playing the blues, because for me, the blues and the music kind of represented his Blackness. Even though you make it out of that situation, you still have to move through the world this way and be who you are,
and keeping that alive.
Exactly.
As the generation goes on. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it was beautiful that despite what he had been through, he decided to maintain this promise that he kept to himself. He's going to keep playing the blues. He's going to keep sharing being vulnerable. The blues is a very vulnerable genre, and after experiencing that kind of pain and trauma, you have to realize, what was the vampire's name? Remick said, "We want you. We heard your music." He's still playing until the end of his life, regardless. And I think that's, again, I think that just goes to a story of perseverance. My father is 78 years old. He was born in 1946. He lived through the Civil Rights Movement. He's from Chandler, Oklahoma. He's been threatened with lynchings and stuff like this. He doesn't move through a world afraid of white people or afraid of, what might. He has to live his life.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was very beautiful about how Ryan portrayed all of the vulnerability and the perseverance all in one epilogue. It was perfect.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good call out. Like, he sort of just had to live his life, and his music might have become better in some ways, or at least different, I'm sure. I guess we'll never know. Small correction. It was Stack, who is the vampire of I'm sorry. Small correction on my part. I misspoke. Yeah. I mean, I want to go a little further though. Like, how do you think this film sort of explores the themes of immortality? And I'm thinking specifically, like, let's talk about the scene, right?
Okay.
All right, because you have the vampires that are clearly attracted to Sammy's music, and what is it? He has something they don't have. And it's one thing it almost sounds kind of hokey on the surface if you just say it. I heard you were good at music and that's why I want you to join my horde. But no, you get the whole sequence where you see how the music he's playing is able to move people on a spiritual level because it's able to connect them to their ancestors, because it sort of paints a through line to the music that's going to come, and see that like ancestral line pass on back and forth. Anyway, I thought the poem that was read, or the monologue that was read over the music, that was really, really powerful. So let's dig into that, the sequence that happens roughly about the end of Act 1, I think.
I feel like I've read many people respond to it. If you know, you know. I've seen a lot of that the hashtags like that, and I think that what's interesting is that it does feel like you're levitating when you're listening, when you're seeing that sequence. It just has this wow factor to it. As you mentioned, when you saw it, it's like I've never seen anything like that before. Like, they've even teed up this sequence throughout the story. And yet still when you see it in its full glory, it is just so magnificent that you're just kind of like weaving through different generations of Black music, from the past, the present, and the future. And I feel like there's the kind of the connection I'm noticing between all this is that a lot has evolved, and yet a lot hasn't evolved over time at the same time. And it's kind of encapsulating this weird sense of, again, this liberation and joy that they're feeling with it, but also the way that this music is also kind of a document or a testament to everything they've been through, throughout time. Because the rap music its earliest origins was definitely like very politicized, and like, so there's that kind of connection there too, where the music continues to tell the story even long once these people have gone and have perished. And so but the immortality of it is that it does get to exist. They get to be immortal through those stories and through that art. So
yeah, man, that's so cool. I thought we got everything. We got rap, we got DJing, we got twerking. Come on,
twerking, rock,
the funkadelic movement that started in Oakland, California, if I believe correctly. So that was Coogler definitely. It's funny. Yeah. People from Oakland love to tell you they're from Oakland.
Yes, they do. They do.
Like, remember in the Black Panther, they go to Oakland to build the Wakanda outreach thing. So I just want to.
He also brings it up in every interview. He's like, I'm from the Bay Area, the Oakland. You're right. He brings it up in like every interview.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
Oh, we know.
I don't know, Brock. I mean, like, what did you what did you think of the scene? Like, what did that do for you?
It was incredible, especially seeing it when we saw it, I think, in Dolby, and that bass hitting your back as you're watching it just adds to just the oomph of it. And again, like at the beginning, it's talking about there's certain people that can play music that open up portals to the past and the future and all of these ancestors. So whenever they're doing that, and you get like the African tribal, and then even with Bo and his wife, the Chinese immigrants, I think there was maybe some like Chinese heritage music mixed in there. And then we get, the DJing and the twerking, which again, it's one of those scenes where under maybe anybody else or other directors could have been taken, like they could have not done it correctly and it could have been hokey or cheesy. You're like, what the fuck is this? Sorry for the F word. But
we're not.
On the Sinners on a podcast about sinners?
I had to sin once.
We now know your biggest sin. No, did you ask him that question earlier?
No, he didn't. But with it, so like you see like the DJ and the rapping and kind of hitting like that like hip hop, and then at the end, whenever you see Stack come in, to see, you know, Sammy when he's an old man, he's in that like 90s era rap. He's wearing the
Coogee sweater.
The Coogee sweater.
Very strong Wesley Snipes vibe in that
you
scene.
know, and so it's showing, and then you still have Sammy wearing basically what Stack was wearing in the 30s, that really nice suit, looking fly as hell, still playing the blues music. So it just shows that like as he stayed kind of in his element, you know, Stack went on to that future, like, with the evolution of music and kind of playing into the current time. But that's what it is. Like if there's music that like hits on a spiritual, cultural level, it lives forever. It is immortal. Just rappers still sample songs from musicians back in the 40s and 50s because of how prevalent and how amazing the music was. We still listen to the Beatles, Let It Be. We still listen to like Marvin Gaye music because even now, like even kids, millennials, people that are younger and weren't even alive when Marvin Gaye put it out, it still hits.
Yeah. It's the thing that connects us. Like,
it's the thing that connects us.
Music has always been like that glue, you know, for all of us, where we can all be in the same space. We might have different backgrounds, but there's something, again, very transcendent just about the way that music can take us all to the exact same place at the exact same time.
And I've said it before, like I do believe that music is the closest we'll ever get to time travel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, yeah.
I've done a summer CD mix for 20 years. This is my 20th year to do it. And I can still hear a song that was on like my third volume. And I go back to that summer and I can remember exactly where I was at whenever I was playing this.
Mm-hmm. And you can share with your kids, right? Like
yes.
It will be a different experience for them, but like that is a dot in the line of like your lineage you can pass on.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Nathan, anything you want to add about the scene and sort of how like Coogler uses it?
Yeah, no, and just the sheer musicality of it, the way it blends in all of the different styles. I mean, it's like girl talk levels of just all the balance and being able to just they made it look easy.
Yeah.
Almost effortless. And it's just like, I'm going to loop in 17 different things. And also it's one take, right?
It's one track. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's one take.
It sounds
as the place burns down around them.
It sounds insane. It's technically insane. It looks crazy because it's literally he's burning down the house.
I hadn't thought about it in that context until just now.
Literally burning down the house. I can spoil it now, but the house will be okay, but not okay soon. But it's that many flavors all thrown together. You have to have a hand like Brian's to connect the dots there, and that was pretty special. And I think that scene really helped me answer a question in the film because obviously Remick, really digs his style. He wants him to be a vampire, right? He wants Sammy to be a vampire. And I was kind of thinking to myself, like, well, if he does get him, what's he going to do with this talent, this skill? And the way I answered it is because of all these generations of people being able to make these escapes, these moments of freedom, this beautiful culture. That's what he wants.
Yeah.
And maybe even jealous of it or wants to feed off of it in some way. But that all kind of answered a pretty a lingering question in my mind when I walked out of the theater. And so it's impressive how much that scene ties things together.
Yeah. I agree. And I don't know, for me, it helps establish the stakes of like, what is he after? Why does he want this specific kid so badly? And just, sells the talent.
I do think I think he said too, he's hundreds of years old. He was back from, Ireland back whenever they were invaded by whoever, but I think he wants to see his ancestors again, and so him playing that music allows him to bring these people back, and that's why he wants Sammy to be with him, is truly like not for power, but just to see his ancestors.
And what a voice, Miles. Yeah, just he's actually a musician.
Holy cow!
That boy got a voice.
Yeah, it like, and I love that too. That normally in movies, there's like a monologue normally where they're like describing a feeling, and you're just supposed to take them at their word for it. But he managed to actually manifest that, where in this moment where it's like he's saying it, but we're feeling it along with him in that moment. And I thought that was just so impressive. And just I don't know how. I mean, I don't know how he did it and accomplished it, the way that he did. So
he did all that. We were all so floored, and then he juxtaposed it with here's the folky Irish music they play.
Which I'm not gonna lie was a pretty big bop too. I was like, you know what?
Pick poor Robin Clean, that one.
Why is this catchy too?
Yeah, I know. Right? He's like, here we gotta catch you too. We can come in.
They might have lured me out there with that footwork.
He
I'm not gonna lie.
introduced them all. He's like, I'm Remick. This is Bo, and that's like, what the hell? He's even like introducing the little trio band as they play.
I would have been like, come on in. Shit. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that was such a great joke when they introduced him. And then also when you actually get to see him do the little cult circle outside later, you're like, I mean, that's still pretty cool. I don't know. It's got a tune. Not nearly on the same level, but it's still pretty cool,
Nothing was on fire when they did it.
No. All the blood, though. Oh, the blood. Yeah. Go ahead, Korey. What's up?
So real quick on that scene in particular, so many thoughts, but just to keep it brief, I really like the contrast between the Christian Judeo traditions that are showcased through Sammy, Preacher Boy's father, and what he wants him to be, compared to the West African in origin traditions that the movie leans into, that Annie is talking about throughout the film. So Annie practices hoodoo, which hoodoo, voodoo, and Vodun, hoodoo and voodoo have roots in West African Yoruba Vodun, which is very heavily not inspired by, but is a lot of ancestor veneration. I won't say worship, but veneration of your ancestors and connecting with your ancestors and keeping them alive, so to speak, by celebrating them. So obviously, music and dance in every indigenous culture, music and dance is really important, and I think that's important because that's what brings people together, no matter where you're from. So the Irish traditions compared to the African traditions, it's really brilliant how Coogler can break down, like, yeah, these people are vampires and these people are, Mississippi Delta folks, but they have something in common a little bit, even though they're so different. So I thought that was brilliant. I also love, we're jumping through time. If you think about it, like, is time linear? Or is it all just a flat plane that's all happening simultaneously? Because if we're venerating ancestors, they died 400 years ago. They're still dead where they're at, but we venerate them so they connect with us in a way while we're still living, and we can connect back with them all at once. So I just thought that was brilliant. I don't know if we're ready to talk about this yet, but I read it differently, man. I looked at it's Remick, yeah. Remick. I looked, okay, I don't know if we're ready to go there yet, but
no, go there, take us away.
Here we go.
The music aspect of, I think Coogler was trying to tell us something about cultural appropriation, and I think that Remick wanted to appropriate Sammy's ability. I don't think he wanted to get Sammy to come sing for him. I wanted him to. I think he wanted to.
Exactly. He wanted him to be in my hive mind or whatever.
Right.
I want him to be playing music for me.
Right.
And my goals and agenda.
So I can see my ancestors. So you want to take his gift and kind of weaponize it and use it for your own benefits. And I love how the trio shows up of vampires. They show up and they say, hey, we can play too, and we've got good money and we want to spend it. Because, like, for instance, we all know the Rolling Stones are talented, but without Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, the Rolling Stones aren't who the Rolling Stones are. They named their band after one of Muddy Waters' songs.
Yeah.
Elvis, incredible, one of the most talented entertainers of all time. But
with Chuck Berry and Etta James.
You got to talk about Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
So I think Coogler was trying to say something there while also saying that, we're not so different. They have their music, we have ours. It's all beautiful. We can all enjoy it together. But he does it in a way that doesn't beat you over the head with it. He's just telling a story. And you have to really be into it like I am to see these underlying tones. Also the underlying tones of not just cultural appropriation, but white supremacy. I think we might be able to get into that later.
Yeah.
Let's dive into it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think I do want to talk about the white supremacy angle, but I do want to pause on the appropriation because that was something I was trying to figure out what he was trying to say, but it was something I picked up on too, which is like Remick wants him for his talents, not for him to like be immortal, but for him to work for Remick so that he got co-op it for whatever nefarious agendas or selfish agendas he has. Remick is a cult leader.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the way he's even outside when they're playing the music, he's standing in the middle of the circle, they're all dancing around him. Like, this is a guy who's clearly trying to steal talent from other people for some of the reason. So I think, anyway, I just want to say you put it really well that like, frankly, that might be the most evil thing that Remick's about. He's trying to absorb all these people so that he can connect with his ancestors, so that he can sort of like live through time and space himself. Kind of like in that weird sort of like Manson-esque cult leader status. It was kind of, I don't know. Anyway, well said. Anyway, you guys, everything else you guys want to say about like sort of like the way Remick is using Sammy's abilities, and then otherwise. White supremacy.
White supremacy. It's a thing. It's still there.
It's a thing. I'm not gonna lie. Not sure what it says about where my head's at lately, but the last scene of the movie was quite cathartic in a way I did not expect it to be. See Michael B. Jordan just go like Rambo at the end was.
Man, Tommy guns are just so cool.
I know they are so cinematic.
No matter what movie
when you
it's
have
in.
big ass biceps and triceps,
Well, that's
when
true.
you hold one,
Yeah,
that's
me
even
holding it
cooler.
might look a little sad.
Just that recoil, you be
Not
going
a single
everywhere.
shot lands. Damn it.
Yeah. Okay, so Korey, what's your read on the way that he's sort of approaching that topic of white supremacy?
All right, so check this out. Remick is Irish. That's very important. The Irish were a group of oppressed people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They suffered through indentured servitude. They were treated as outcasts and others in white American society, just like the Italians were, until other minorities in America start to grow in numbers, start to find their own agency. And it's at that point where greater white society goes, Irish, you can be white too. Italians, you guys can be white too. We need more troops in this battle to maintain white supremacy. So I really thought it was interesting that he chose an Irish vampire to be a vehicle for that conversation. Another thing is, if Remick was Mexican, Native American, or black, the farmers don't let him in the house in the first place.
Yeah.
He never gets a chance to spread his venom. I think it's very telling that Coogler shows you that shot of that Klan hood in the background, because those farmers go, oh, he's like us.
Mm-hmm.
They think he's like you, but he's really not. They're inviting this demon of white supremacy into their home and not even knowing it, because you don't ask more questions about who this person really is or what's going on. Why are these people after you? What did you do? You just assume that they're wrong because they're not like you, or they don't look like you.
Mm-hmm.
So they invite this demon of white supremacy that is shown to us as vampirism, I don't know how to say it, into their home without knowing it. I thought that was very, very well done. Another thing is that the thought that they're supposed to be there into the party. Why won't you let us in?
Mm-hmm.
Entitlement. And the entitlement is a part of the white supremacy that I thought was beautiful. And I loved how Smoke stood on business. Nah, don't let them in here.
Yeah.
You don't know what's gonna they might somebody might look at their girl wrong, and then they got the Klan coming. So I thought that was very well done. But I also like how Remick tries to leverage his oppression in order to come closer to the black folks at the juke. As in, his uncle is the grand wizard of the Klan, and they're coming to shoot you. I'm here to help. Mm-hmm. No, you're not here to help. You're trying to leech off the community and appropriate it and use it for your own gain. So there's so much here that you can still get into. But Coogler, again, he doesn't really beat you over the head with it. He just does the subtle things like show you that Klan hood in the background, show you that how hostile she is towards the Native Americans. But they're like, oh, let's give this random white guy a chance. That's brilliant storytelling.
Yeah.
Brilliant social commentary.
Love it. Yeah. I retweet everything you said.
There's a few layers you unpacked for me too. So that's nice.
Like,
I was grinning at Laron when you were talking about letting him in because he was white. And I was like, holy shit, you're completely right. I didn't even think about that. And I think reading up on it, I think Pick Poor Robin Clean, I think that was actually like an old like slave song too. So that might have been another like trying to, hey, we know you.
Yeah.
Trying to gain that trust. Like we're on the same level. I know this. Yeah.
Didn't he also offer to attack the KKK as well? Like maybe we'll go pay them a visit once we turn him.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
So he was really laying it on thick there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing. He laid it on so thick that, was it Smoke? Who was like, yeah, I don't trust you guys.
Yeah.
There's just something off, you know. It's all good stuff. A lot of just so subtle though. Like you said, it's all showing, not telling. You know, it's not
exactly.
Here's the point. It's just a little, you know. Yeah,
there's no movie if he wasn't white. There's no. Yeah, that's just.
Yeah.
That was great.
It wouldn't have had the same impact.
That was great.
Just been a vampire movie.
That was great.
You know how he doesn't even say you're not letting us in because we're white. He scratches at his skin.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is unsettling.
Yeah, in its own way. Yeah.
Mary. Let's get into the complexities of being white passing and how we should be able to choose who we allow into our community. Your mom raised us.
Yeah.
Your family to us. We know who you are.
Yeah.
It's not about skin color. It's about community familiarity. You know,
he's like, I've laid in, like, I've slept at her house. You know, like his mom took care of me. So it's more like there's an intrinsic trust there that goes beyond race, that transcends race here in this moment. But he doesn't understand that because she is white passing. Yeah.
But Mary also wants to be a part of the community for more than just leeching off of them and taking from them. Right. She actually wants to engage in the community. And everyone except Stack treats her pretty kindly. They all recognize that she's supposed to be here. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah. No, I think it was a nice touch. And I actually had to look this up that Haley Steinfeld, I believe, is either quarter or
her great grandfather, I think, was African American. Yeah, because we had the question. Anyway, I was talking to someone afterwards, and they're like, wait, isn't that weird? They cast like, no, let me Google it. Yeah, she's got a little bit there. So anyway, authentic casting though. But I think it's, man, Coogler's hitting on a lot of levels, just subtly though, and it feels like very organically. So here's a question for you, not to sound too on the nose, but who are the sinners in this movie, and why is this movie called Sinners?
Who isn't a sinner in this movie?
That's
would be my question.
Right? Yeah,
I feel like it almost everybody. Maybe the only people that aren't are in the little white church
at the beginning of the movie.
At the beginning of the movie,
singing this little light of mine, you know.
Even maybe because so many people are breaking a rule or twisting the rules or trying to get an advantage over somebody,
cheating on their husband,
Pearline.
And almost everybody has gone through some sort of heaviness, loss of a child. Not being able to be with somebody that you want because what would the rest of the community say? I don't know. It's hard to say who's not a sinner in this.
Yeah, I feel like my read was that they all were, and that there's this idea that they're all done something wrong and they're all flawed, they're all messy. But there's goodness there too. There's this constant presence of good and evil in each person. Like even the twins have done something bad, but we just accept it at face value, and we're led into all their charisma just like everybody else is. But it's blood money essentially. They murder people to do this, you know. So there's that kind of that duality of it with each character, and it's just each person has their thing that they're doing that's not quite impure. And I think that also speaks to just the inherent imperfection that we all have, and we all have this kind of shared common humanity. So, yeah.
A good scene that captures what you're saying, too, is shooting somebody in the butt and kneecap and then paying somebody to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Almost immediately when you have a bunch of other business to get to.
Yeah.
So, everybody's Everybody's complicated here.
When I think, it's like when I think about the title, I think about the beginning with Sammy showing up to his dad's church and the congregation's going, and it kind of fast forwards to him, like, you know, kind of that day of Sammy's dad, played by the incredibly talented Saul Williams. If you don't know his music, listen to it. It's incredible. Him going to his dad and it's like, hey, getting his guitar, and he's like, where are you going? He's like, I'll be back in the morning for service. And he's like, where are you going with that? Who are you playing that for? You know, it gets into that thing. So his dad, it's basically how his dad sees the people who he's playing for, and his son sinning by being in an establishment like that, and then gets kind of pulled into it, helping a woman cheat on her husband. So I see it as kind of like his dad's view on the people in which he's playing it for. And then you always hear that you play the devil's music, you invite the devil in.
Right.
And that's kind of what happens too. Like, you know, he's so talented that the one person that should have stayed back with his pastor dad's the one person that drew the devil in.
Mm-hmm. Great take. That's took the words right out of my mouth. His dad talks about this being the house of God. And anybody who grew up in a black church, you know, this is the Lord's music, and everything else, that's the devil's music. So everybody in the juke is a sinner. Everybody who showed up. It's funny. Sam Cooke, one of the greatest singers of all time, if you ask me, started his career in gospel. A lot of people don't know this. He was in a group called the Soul Stirrers, and he just tells a similar story about how his father, who was a pastor, told him, you know, you want to keep singing the Lord's music, or you want to go sing that devil's music, you know, and he made his choice. And just a fun fact, Sam Cooke took a lot of songs he wrote for the Soul Stirrers, took out God, Lord, Jesus, and replaced it with baby, honey, sweetheart, darling.
Is that where the South Park joke comes from?
That's a reverse South Park episode.
Yeah, so I thought that was funny, but yeah, you nailed it, man.
No, yeah, I think you guys have said it all. I was just sort of thinking, like, there is this like connection in my brain, but you know, he's talking about blue. This movie is blues music is at the heart of it, and I feel like, Korey, you were talking about earlier, just how blues is about it's like a sad feeling, uncomfortable. You've lived some life if you're singing blues, and frankly, a lot of life and the worst things in life happen because of air quotes sin. Like like the struggles, the problems we get ourselves into, or you know, one could say, or situations or affiliations you have, and by sort of Sammy saying, you know, if we're thinking of him as the main character, sort of witnessing what his affiliations and choices are costing him, you know, through his music at the end of the day. We're sort of how I landed on the sinner's idea, but you guys already said it also eloquently. But I do think there's a real strong tie between, yes, blues music equals sinner's music, devil's music, you know, versus the church songs are of the Lord. So I thought that was a good connection, Korey. I think you said that well. Well, guys, one last thing. I mean, we've been gushing on Coogler here for a while. I mean, he's already made his indie hit, Fruitvale Station. We've seen him do The Studio with Creed, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And now we've kind of got his blank check movie with Sinners. Looks like it's probably going to be pretty financially successful, despite what the headlines will say. What do you want to see this guy do next?
You know, I was thinking about this, and there's not even like a genre that I'm necessarily saying he needs to go. I know what he's going to do immediately next. I listened to a podcast before, but I won't spoil that.
I was going to spoil it.
You were going to spoil it? You can say it later.
No, you should spoil it, because I did not listen to that podcast.
He's going to work on the X-Files. He's going to do like a reimagining of that series, you know, and I thought that's an interesting.
Well, Peele already did that. Oh no, Peele did the Twilight Zone. Okay,
listen,
get your facts straight.
They're doing right. They're taking all the things,
and you know, I'm into the X-Files. Let's sign me up.
But I mean, in terms of just in general, like, I just want him to make more original things. That's really what I'm looking forward to, is him getting the opportunity to continue to do original things. Because if this was in his back pocket and when you gave him some money, then who knows what else he can do when he's not pinned in a corner to do a studio film, you know, like, so, yeah. So even with Black Panther, for an example, like, I mean, he took that enterprise and made it very uniquely Ryan Coogler's, you know what I mean? Like, one of the few times that I've actually seen them bring an auteur in to the Marvel universe where there was still a very, like, there was a voice in it, you know what I mean? There was a vision behind it that was very unique to him. And so Yeah, so I just think whatever he does, he's going to put that sauce on it, so it's going to work. But
The Coogler sauce.
Coogler sauce.
I'll buy it.
He should make a barbecue sauce. It would sell. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Do we feel like? I mean, I almost feel I don't want to get over optimistic because the world's crazy, but he really is. He does have all the makings of like another Christopher Nolan in a way, because he's already done his studios, one for you, one for me. And in fact, he did like one for me, three for you. Now he got to do one for me again. And the one for me is, again, we'll see. It's not going to make $900 million like Oppenheimer, but it could make some pretty big money.
Yeah.
So I'd be really interested to see if he's able to kind of, after Nolan finished the Batman movies, he's like, I'm going to make Inception. Now I'm going to make Interstellar and
Tenet.
Tenet. And then even Tenet against the odds during the pandemic still made a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, Laron. I'd love to see like another bold, original kind of idea that's maybe bigger than this one, maybe not. I don't know.
Because we've had like like John Singleton and obviously Spike Lee, or even your Antoine Fuqua to a certain extent, if you like some of his films, so it just seems like he's tracking him, and I'd say Jordan Peele are kind of not trafficking in similar spaces, but they are still very distinctly different, in a way, but they're talking about similar things, but their approaches are so much different.
Oh yeah.
But I would say that they're probably parallel right now in the
in terms of like clout,
and
creative
growth,
and
absolutely,
that's a good example. Korey, what do you think? What do you want to see? What do you want to see Coogler make next?
I would really like to see a couple things from him. One, I would like to see him try his hand at some kind of original, maybe like a genre science fiction-y kind of thing. Like just, let's see what you can do. Like something akin to like a Star Trek, but like an original idea that he just comes up with. I think, like again, he's such a great world builder. I want to see him just create something. I just want to see where his mind goes. And then I kind of want to see him dive into a smaller scale story, something that's just about the human experience, just like people, because the first 45 minutes of Sinners is so great.
Yeah.
He's good at telling those kind of stories, just, this is a day where people did a thing, and then maybe a really crazy thing happens later, but it's not necessarily vampires. Maybe somebody gets into a car accident or something, you know what I mean? But I think he deserves an Oscar in his career. I think he's the kind of filmmaker who's talented enough to get one. So I hope he's allowed to create. The Academy loves those smaller stories about the human experience and things like that. So I want to see him dive into that. One quick thing. I've been glazing Sinners so much this whole time in the pod. One little quick thing. I really wish the in the final act, when all the vampire spoilers, when the vampires are dying and the sun comes up, I found it a little awkward just how the pacing of it, I guess. Like why Remick is dying and all these other guys are just standing here. I felt like that would have been a perfect time to bring the natives back in.
Yeah.
As with an assist, I think that would have been a great, narratively speaking, about the black and red alliance. As a Oklahoman who's a descendant of people who were on the Trail of Tears, I think that would have been a really, and they have a lot of history in the Delta working together. So I think that would have been a really cool thing. I think that's why introduce the natives in the fashion if they're not gonna come back and impact the story in some kind of fashion. And that combined with the fact that I thought all the other vampires died in a kind of lackluster way by just the sun coming up.
It also, sorry, not to cut you off, but I think that would also address a kind of a joke criticism we had walking out of the movie, which was like, why do you always notice that the vampires are just like waiting for the sun to come up right when they make their big monologue, Anyway, sorry, I continue.
No, so yeah, I think that little criticism would have taken that movie from a 90, 95, 96 to a 99 for me. But yeah, I really want him to do something small and intimate, and then some big dope science fiction or like some kind of Lord of the Rings type of thing. Like maybe do like a gladiator, but a West African kind of like a Mansa Musa type or Shaka Zulu type of story would be dope. So yeah,
very cool. I am really into like a West African gladiator type movie. I would pay big dollars to see that. Nathan Poppe, what do you want to see Coogler do next?
Gladiator 3.
It's all about Denzel. All right, there we go.
Yes.
Now, real quick, I do want to defend all the dumb vampires that died really fast. They were new to it. They're rusty. I don't know all the rules. Like, I was just standing here because you guys were. No, that is a good idea. That would have really sweetened it. But where can Ryan go next? I like what you're thinking, something sci-fi. We've seen the past, obviously, so something futuristic I think he would have a field day with. Also, if we're going to go look back into the past, I wonder and if he could touch on local history, something about the Tulsa Race Massacre.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it depicted with Watchmen. And
it's in Lovecraft Country too.
It's in Love. Yes. Very good point. Also, yeah, watch that on HBO. It would be really interesting to see if he could take elements of that, or what he could do with that, talk about a horror story. But, yeah, I don't know.
That is a story that needs to be told on the big screen. I mean, I'm thrilled that we got the versions in TV.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
That would be,
style of
that'd be incredible.
Just really capturing what happened and bringing that history alive would be unreal. So maybe that's in the cards. I don't know.
I mean, only time U.S. dropped the bomb on ourselves, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm just saying there's a lot of history, intersections in history there. Good, bad, not good. Ugly, bad, terrible, but potentially a teaching moment. Brock, what do you want to see Coogler do next?
That's a hard one to follow. I kind of touched on it before, kind of. He pulled the Reservoir Dogs where he showed the aftermath of like a heist. Mm-hmm. Taking Smoke and Stack and putting them back in Chicago fresh off of, getting back from World War I, arriving in Chicago, showing how in that time 2 black men get into the inner circles of Al Capone's crime syndicate and how they heist money, but also Irish beer and wine from the Italians.
So when did the zombies show up?
I just think it could be just, again, like kind of a lower budget, really do something cool with it. And it doesn't even have to have any mention of like, this is a horror movie and this one would be nothing like a horror movie would be because nothing of that has happened yet. So it would just be like a pure crime heist movie set in Chicago that I think could be really cool.
We needed a post-credit scene where Al Capone checks his fridge for his for his beer. He goes, "What the hell did all the beer go?"
I thought there were rumblings of Ryan Coogler might have a franchise on his hands, and I'm thinking maybe if we do a trilogy, maybe Stack and Smoke fight werewolves next, and then maybe I was like, man, this could be cool. But
he breathes life into trilogies and all of it. He doesn't let it get stale. He doesn't play the same card. So I think if anybody's going to do it, he could do it.
I say keep up. I mean, I think you guys know that. Let's mix up genre a little more. We've seen superhero movies. We've seen character dramas. Now we've seen vampires. Yeah. What does science fiction look like? What does a rom-com look like? You know what I mean? I just want to see what else he can do to kind of like breathe fresh energy into like some of these genres that might feel like they're a little stale or tired or have been left behind.
I'll say just like Spike Lee did Inside Man, and it was dope. Like, he could do a heist movie, do Chicago only present day with Smoke and Stack, but they're like present day.
Listen, so what I'm hearing from Brock, but also I just think the table in general is we just want to see Smoke and Stack played by Michael B. Jordan again.
At least we know Michael B. Jordan will be in it no matter what he does.
I want to see them try every deep dish pizza in Chicago.
That's like the B plot in the movie is they're just trying pizza.
Everywhere they stop, it's like it's not quite right.
I'm so full, Smoke. Me too, Stack.
What do you think about us opening up our own pizza joint? Okay, I need to stop. Oh, man. Wow. Well, on that note, anything else you guys want to say about Sinners before we close out the conversation today?
See it, man. Let's get those numbers up.
Prove the headlines wrong. Yeah. And if you've already seen it, see it again.
Definitely seen it in IMAX.
Yeah. Dolby, IMAX, pay for those premium formats. I really cannot wait to see it again. If I could have found time this weekend, I would have done it. But those freaking WrestleMania 2-night event, It's monsters. And The Rock didn't even show up. What a false advertisement. Okay. All right, listeners. Well, hey, this has been a great conversation. Hey, thanks to everyone who joined us at the table today. Want folks to be able to know where they can keep up with you and all the things you're doing. So we'll go start with you, Brock, and go around the table. Where can people follow you online?
You can follow me on Instagram on Brockness_monster.
All righty. Nathan Poppe?
You can always find my work in the newest edition of the Curbside Chronicle. If you see one of those vendors in green, you live in Oklahoma City, pick up a magazine. Why don't you?
Absolutely. And buy the flowers.
Yeah. Oh, we have a flower shop too. Forgot about that.
Korey Eakers?
If you want to keep up with youth advocacy in Oklahoma, follow the Grand Gentleman. We give out scholarships. We mentor the youth. We love giving back. So yeah, give us some love there. On all social media platforms, Grand Gentleman.
Check it out, dude.
Check us out.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Love to see all the community work that, frankly, Nathan, you and Korey are both doing. But yeah, anyway, very exciting stuff. Follow them online. Laron, Chapman?
You can follow my letterbox reviews at black_Senna_man, or you can follow my longer format reviews on Real Insights with Laron Chapman on the cinematropolis.com.
Cinematropolis.com, great place to check out movie thoughts. You can find me and all of our podcasts over there or on social media, Letterboxd, Letterboxd and Instagram at C Masters Talk. That's letter C Masters Talk. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, listeners. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for tuning in, joining me on this Easter Monday recording. It's been such a pleasure. We're going to be back in 2 weeks when we review Thunderbolts with an asterisk. Until next time.